UFC 311 is taking place. And so far, it is still scheduled to be happening in Los Angeles. Shout out to where I live. Hope everybody is safe there. Here is a look at the main card. Of course, we got the lightweight title, Makhachev versus Tsarukyan. Bantamweight title on the line with Waterson-Gomez versus Nurmagomedov. We've got lightweights Dariush versus Moicano. That's a great fight. Light heavyweights Prochazka versus Hill, and middleweights Holland versus the Ritter. And Paul, let's talk about this rematch for the lightweight title, though, because, you know, it's been a minute since these two fought, but Makhachev has looked unstoppable. He's 26-1, 3 successful defenses to date.
Absolutely, and that first fight, I think, really shocked everybody, because even back then, Makhachev was one of those people that everybody was scared of in the lightweight division. You didn't want to get matched up with him, just like you didn't want to get matched up by his coach now, Khabib Nurmagomedov. But Tsarukyan was able to scramble out of positions that most other fighters that have faced Islam have not been able to do, and I think that's what really stood out. And that was his debut on very short notice in Russia, taking on that challenge. And since then, he's got a ton of experience inside of the octagon and has beat some absolute monsters in the lightweight division. But one thing I think people are sleeping on in this matchup in particular is the fact that if Islam wants to stand with him and kickbox, I think he can. I think that's something that really gets overlooked at with Islam Makhachev, is the fact that he's not that bad of a kickboxer. He's powerful. I mean, look what he did to Volk.
Paul, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that Arman was able to scramble with him. And that's important to note, because Islam hasn't had a lot of opponents that way. Most of them were strikers that were trying to scramble, not wrestlers that were actually able to scramble. So it's important to note that Arman is a wrestler first, and he can scramble and wrestle with Islam. So that's important to note in this fight.
Well, as we said, it is a rematch. Let's take a look at stats from the first one. Paul, you and I were in St. Petersburg for this fight. The stats, Makhachev actually 47 total strikes. Tsarukyan had more with 60, but of course the takedowns were all for the champ, and the control time was his favor as well. But both these guys quite successful since that fight. The champ 9-0 and the challenger 9-1 since then. So, Dean, how did Arman find success? He came in that fight that was supposed to be a showcase for Makhachev. Tsarukyan came in and really surprised a lot of us. What do you think he can do differently this time to actually pick up the win?
Well, it's not necessarily what I think he needs to do differently from the first fight, but I think he needs to pick some plays from what some other guys did that had success against Islam, and that is the southpaw stance. Volkanovski was switching to southpaw and was able to get to Islam. Dustin Poirier is a southpaw. He had a lot of success on the feet against Islam, and the one loss that Islam has, a southpaw. Adriano Martins knocked him out with the right hook. I think if Arman can take some plays out of that playbook, I think he can have some success.
Yeah, absolutely, and just keep it moving. Arman Tsarukyan's got really fantastic movement. If you just take one look at the guy, especially recently leading up to this fight, he is in freakish shape for this fight, right? He always is, but he looks fantastic. Both these guys are going to be coming in phenomenal shape, but you've got to be moving around Islam, and switching stances confusing him, and that could potentially slow down the amount of wrestling attempts, the amount of takedown attempts that Islam is able to get off. You can't ever be a standing target for somebody like Makhachev.
I'm telling you, if the fight stays in L.A., the Armenians will be out for Tsarukyan.
They'll go wherever. I feel like they'll show up wherever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, Michelle, I want to get your thoughts on the co-main event. We have 2 title fights here. Merab Dvalishvili, the bantamweight champ, is going to be defending against Umar Nurmagomedov. So Merab won the title after beating O'Malley in September. Umar is 18-0 and most recently beat Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure for him to keep that O, right? But no, I'm just such a big fan of Merab. I think that, you know, his style is, you know, it goes neck and neck with these two. But I just feel like Merab's ability to control the pace and push the pace from start to end is what's going to edge him out and keep him the champ.
Yeah, and I think the thing that can set him apart is both these guys really fantastic wrestlers, but Merab's pace, his durability, and just the pressure. We've seen him in fights where he's getting knocked around for a while, but he does not stop coming forward. And I really don't think that Umar hasn't really faced quite that kind of a pressure fighter who can wrestle the way that Merab is. If Umar can keep it on the feet, I think that's really where he can shine in this particular matchup.
You also got to think that there's got to be a little bit of pressure on Umar coming from that camp where those guys just don't really lose, and no one has been able to put pressure on them. When have you ever seen anybody put pressure on a Dagestani fighter? It doesn't happen. But if Merab can do it, that might crack him. That might break him because he's not used to that.